Hello guys, this is Tynrael. Welcome to a short video to talk about the mod list that I have for my KSP Exploration Science Adventure. It's a new series that I should be starting fairly shortly. Here on the right side of my screen, you can see that I have all of the mods that I am using. There's a mixture of green and yellow backgrounds. Everything in green is available on CKAN for easy download. Kind of. I'll explain that in a bit. Everything in yellow has to be manually downloaded. I also provide a link to CKAN so that you can download that and get going if you want. And then I have a download of my CKAN files right here. It's in 7 pieces. That's what I'm going to talk about. Right now, if you install a large number of mods, between 10 and 20 or more, CKAN gets confused and starts messing up the downloads, so it won't be able to actually install the mods, and some of the mods that you try to download, it'll say it downloaded them, but they won't be available. The wrong files will be in the archives, and it will crash CKAN without installing anything. So I have this set up. I've tested all of these different pieces. I custom configured the mods in each of these so that it would work without crashing. You can just download this. And then for this video, I've just dragged these into this folder up here called CKAN files. In this new series files, all of these items here, these are all the things that need to be manually downloaded. Here in the lower left of my screen, you can see I have an installation called KSP ModList with CKAN that has a downloads folder. These are just the cache files for the downloads so that I can show you the process of installing them without having to make you watch me download them. Between the two of these things, it's about 1.4 gigabytes total for all of these mods. So let's just launch CKAN. Check for updates on startup. Sure. Would you like to refresh the mod list? Yes, that's fine. It's important that you make sure that you have the correct directory if you're using multiple versions. So here I can see this is KSP mod list. That is correct, so I can just leave that alone. Otherwise, you would forget it, add new, and redirect yourself to the build ID file. Build ID 64 is what you would select to pick that location. So file, install from CKAN, Tynrael 01. It's going to install all of these mods. Each of these pieces has a different number of mods related to different file sizes and server locations. I don't know the exact cause of the error, but I shuffled mods around until I was able to get ones I could install in sequence without crashing it. It's kind of important to install these in the order that they're presented because I did take into account dependencies. So we'll install 2, install 3. All in all, this is about 1.4 gigabytes, including the ones that aren't installed through CKAN. Galileo's Planet Pack being, here you can see, 664 megabytes. Install 5. Six. And then one more. And then I can show you how to go through and do the manual installations. Galileo's Planet Pack includes actual other mods with it. It has the versions that it's configured for, so you don't really want to use your own version of, say, Planet Shine or Texture Replacer or those types of things because it includes them. So those are going to be installed last. So after you get CKAN all set up, you want to go to Game Data and then start extracting these archives. So stock revamp for KSP, I'll just drag that down here. Stage recovery, drag that down here to install it. Research bodies. I don't need the module manager because I already have one. and I'm merging some things with RepoSoftTech because it's also part of all these other mods. Procedural parts. Also, I don't need the mod manager again. Near future spacecraft. Oops. None of the near future mods are available through CKAN, which is kind of unfortunate. I don't know why exactly, but it's easy enough to install these. Now this includes the B9 part switch as well as the community resource pack. I already have the community resource pack installed, so I'll just add the B9 part switch and near future propulsion. And then when I get up to near future electrical, again, I don't need either of these two now, so I can just install near future electrical. And the same with just near future construction. I'm using the development version of Kerbal Construction Time, which means they've broken it into the base Kerbal Construction Time. So I'll install that, along with the Magicore DLL. This doesn't actually include the plugin for Kerbal Construction Time because that's what they keep updating individually. So there's this manual DLL that you'll also download, and you want to place it in the Kerbal Construction Time plugins folder. Now, I skipped over Soundtrack Editor just a second ago because it is different than all these other mods because it needs access to things outside the mod folder to manipulate the audio. So you want to drag that out into the main directory and just override everything. Now, also in my CKAN file, let me pull that back up. I included an engineering tech tree configuration file. I've made some changes to this to fix things that are incorrect or wouldn't be able to be unlocked due to the way that they're set up. So if you go to Game Data, ETT, and then just drag down the engineering tech tree config that I provided, that will fix a few things for you. And then last, we can install Galileo's Planet Pack, which is a mod itself. So in Game Data, there will be GPP. You can just install that. And then it has optional mods, which is where it has the other configurations. Final Frontier I'm using, so I'll install Final Frontier for all those badges. I'm not using Kerbal constructs. I'm going to replace the Final Frontier files. I'm not using Remote Tech. I am using research bodies, so I do want to install those configuration files for the new planets. All of the original planets have been removed, and Galileo's Planet Pack has added its own. It also comes with its own stock visual enhancements, high, low, or medium. Pick whichever is preferable for your system. I'm going to go with high. And then it also has its own visual mod configurations. So you can just select all of these and just copy them all down. Two other configurations that I would recommend are if you go to Galileo's GPP, 0 is the sun, and you can edit the configuration file. The sun in Galileo's Planet Pack is smaller and farther away, so it's very dim, even if you're in full sunlight. I don't mind things being dimmer, but I don't want them to be so dim. So if you go down to sunlight intensity and sunlight scaled sunlight intensity, both of these will be defaulted at 0.45. I'm going to make them 0.75 for both of those numbers. So it's not as bright as regular Kerbin, or the sun would be in a regular installation, but it's not as dim as it is initially. Another thing is not going to show up here right now, but better burn time after you launch Kerbal will create some configuration files. One of those has a countdown text. It defaults to a number of pips or dots that are different sizes. So like the really small dots are 15 minutes maybe, and then 10 minutes, 5 seconds. The sizes don't necessarily correlate to the numbers that they represent for me. So you can remove the dots and replace them with something like this, where in between these carets, greater than or less than symbols, you can write whatever you want and then add open brace, 0, close brace, and this represents the time. So it's going to say burns in and then provide me with the time. And I think that is a lot easier for me to understand at least. So let's pull up Kerbal. Kerbal finally opens after what has probably been several minutes for you, and you're presented with a cluttered screen. Let's start with Scatterer. Here is a checkbox for ocean shaders. This will make the oceans look really nice, but it's disabled for a reason because it does have performance issues and glitches. I haven't experienced either of those, so I don't mind using it. Your experience may be different. I also unchecked this box to show the menu on the startup, so I don't have to see it every time. This mem graph shows the memory usage of Kerbal Space Program. Its added use is that it helps regulate how frequently and when Kerbal will try freeing up memory more intelligently than it will by default. So it helps reduce the stutter. You can hide it by holding Alt and pressing the asterisk key. And then AVC is installed. Now I will see this annoying window every time I start, letting me know I can get updates or things are incompatible or for older versions. Let's just start a quick game. Go for a new science game. And just go over some of the features of the mods that are included with this setup that I have. We don't care about this time control window. You can just click this little button here to close it. Gene's letting us know about the Space Center. Thank you, Gene. Got it. Janitor's toolbar warning doesn't make sense because there is not a version of text replacer that's 2.54, so you can ignore that. Now selecting a tech tree. Here you can see the stock tech tree has 134 nodes and costs 134,053 science to complete. We're actually going to be going with the engineering tech tree, which costs a lot more and has a lot more nodes, but a lot of those are for specific mod categories that I'm not actually using, such as boats or other crafts or farming or who knows what. But those are not going to be something that I care about, so I'm going to be hiding those with hide empty tech tree. So I picked that. That's all set. And then for Kerbal construction time, you have to get started with that in the very beginning. So you pick a preset. I just go with the default and save it. Spend my upgrades. I'm going to be going with rockets. You can pick rockets or in the VAB or using the spaceplane hangar and choose the rate on how fast those are going to be building. They say that that's probably the best place to put your beginning points and worry about research and development later. So I'm going to put all the points into the VAB. Okay, let's take a look at the Research and Development Center. You can see this is a very different tree. It's more of a pinwheel, and it lets you pick more specifically what type of parts you want for each category. It will be interesting, to say the least. There's an observatory. I can currently see Sierra, which is the sun, Niven, Gale, which is the planet I'm on, Iota, and Seti. So if I look at the tracking station, I can see all of these bodies, but everything else is a question mark. I have to put a telescope into space in order to find out more about what these planets are so that I can have a better idea of what I need to do to explore them. The Space Center itself on Gale is on a small island near a mountain range and is not on the equator. So when you get to orbit, you'll probably have to do a plane shift in order to level out your plane to be wherever you want to head. It's not in the same plane anymore. But I hope that it works for you going through this process. If it doesn't, let me know. Leave a comment below. And have fun.